Today, Donald Trump ordering a major expansion in his controversial and potentially illegal military campaign in Latin America, sending the largest aircraft carrier ever built, the USS Gerald Ford, to waters near Venezuela. 10,000 troops are already in the region. Also today, the U.S. striking a 10th alleged drug boat. The strikes have killed 43 people. Trump saying the next step could be attacks on land.
So now they're coming in by land, and even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. You know, the land is going to be next. And we may go to the Senate, we may go to the, Congress and tell them about it. But I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be like dead.
Legal experts say Trump is acting unlawfully. The New York Times reports, quote, the White House has made no legal argument explaining its bald claim that the president has wartime power to summarily kill people suspected of smuggling drugs. Some MAGA figures are wary. Senator Rand Paul saying this.
It'll be much bigger than Epstein because Epstein, there was a segment of the MAGA movement that was concerned about it, a significant segment. There's an even bigger segment of the MAGA movement that is concerned with intervention overseas. And if all of a sudden President Trump becomes the president of regime change in Venezuela and giving arms and money to Ukraine, I think a lot of people will feel abandoned. You can't randomly just blow up the enemy without identifying them and accusing them of crime unless you're at war. But a declared war needs to be approved by Congress.
A bipartisan group of senators may force a vote next week to bar military action inside Venezuela without approval from Congress. In the House, the top Democrat on armed services, Adam Smith, is demanding a hearing. Joining me now is that Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Congressman. So I will start with this. There are immediate concerns by international observers and lawyers that it is illegal to simply blow up boats and claim after the fact that they were somehow shipping drugs. What is the Trump administration's response to these questions? Have they attempted to justify anything? Have they shown up with any evidence one way or another? Or are they continuing to just blow up ships of people with no explanation?
Yeah, to try not to use swear words, I will answer that question in modified form. Their response is basically, go to hell, I'm the president, I can do whatever I want to do. And that's what I really want people to understand. And all of these stories link together. You showed the demolition of the White House, gosh, the tariffs, the way he's used the Justice Department, the way he's used the FCC to go after media he doesn't like. It is all part of one thing. Donald Trump wants the power to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it, without any transparency and any accountability. This is an authoritarian takeover of the United States government. And now we're taking it to the most extreme level possible. The president, as you just said, and you played it, he can kill who he wants to kill whenever he wants to kill them, and he doesn't have to explain it to anybody. All right. That is his position. And regardless of how you feel about Venezuela or Colombia or cocaine or fentanyl or drugs or anything, you shouldn't support the president of the United States saying, screw you, I'm president. I can kill who I want to kill, and you all just have to live with it. And in this particular instance, it's really important. He hasn't even really explained exactly why they're doing what they're doing. Because you frequently will hear, and I see Mike Johnson saying this idiotically all the time, well, fentanyl is a huge problem. We got to go after the fentanyl. There's no fentanyl coming out of Venezuela. Yeah, we don't know exactly who or what has been on these boats, but I'll tell you, one thing we know 100%, there has been no fentanyl involved in any of this. So the president's just exercising the most extreme power possible with no accountability.
I mean, this is the person who said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, and basically most of his supporters wouldn't say anything one way or another. Congressman, the secondary concern that I have, and I think a lot of other American citizens have, is what's the ripple effect of this, right? Like, once you start just randomly killing people from other countries and coming up with a crime to throw on them later, doesn't that destabilize our relationships with the rest of South America? Doesn't it make business more difficult? Doesn't it make negotiations more difficult? What are some of the ripple effects of this current insane foreign policy by the administration?
It does all of those things. And it tells everyone in the world that this is perfectly okay. You decide you want to kill somebody, go ahead and do it. And you don't have to justify it either. It makes us more vulnerable. Gosh, all the troops, all the U.S. personnel that we have in Latin America are now at risk. And that's a huge problem. But I really want to come back to the central problem here. We are losing our constitutional republic. And meanwhile, the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson has effectively dissolved the United States House of Representatives. I spoke with several Republicans, including Chairman Mike Rogers today, to talk about, okay, we need to have hearings on this. The House Armed Services needs to exercise oversight. And there are many Republicans, including Mike Rogers, who agree with that. But we're not in session. So we can't do it. So we're not going to do it. So the president just gets to do what he wants. I mean, look, the whole Nazi Germany analogies are always troubling. But, that was one of the steps, is the parliament or the Reichstag or whatever it was sort of pushed out of existence and didn't have any oversight. And when you look at that clip you showed of the president, that's what the president is saying. What are you talking about? I did it. Leave me alone.
Congressman, I had this question yesterday when I talked to Ken Martin, who was in charge of the DNC. We have elections next year in 2026. You have been very outspoken about what you think are some of the problems in the Democratic Party. Here we see no Epstein files. We see tariffs that are damaging people. We see massive overreach in foreign policy. What do you think is the single message or the key messages that Democrats need to have to take back some power next year so that there is some oversight? What's the message that people should be hammering home right now from your party?
There's two parts to it. One has to be focused on what Trump is doing and how that is unacceptable. And that, too, has two parts. I'm a big two person here. One is this is an authoritarian takeover of our government. All right. And look, Republicans can argue about the policies. Well, here's why drugs are important. Here's why what Trump is doing makes sense on tariffs. They can't even really in any meaningful way argue the authoritarian aspect of this. The president is ignoring the law and turning us into a monarchy instead of a constitutional republic. If you care about democracy, you have to send a message that this must stop. Second, his policies are really hurting us. Look at what's happening to the farmers. Look at how the costs of housing, insurance, energy, everything's going up because of his policies. Healthcare, millions of people are about to lose their healthcare insurance. Millions of people are losing access to the food security that they need. His policies are harming the country. And then third, as a Democrat, I think we need to say, we understand you weren't thrilled with the Democratic Party. We have to change. We have to get better. We have to legitimately address immigration. We have to have secure borders. And we didn't do as good a job on that as we should have. Focusing on identity politics constantly is not what the American people want. All right. We get that. We're going to fix that. We're going to run our cities better, which, by the way, we're starting to do. You look at some of the things that are happening in San Francisco, in other places where we're getting after, crime and homelessness and drug abuse and actually governing better. We have to understand that whatever 80 million, I think is the number that voted for Trump, something like that. They're not all racist, bigoted morons. They're not. And we need to stop treating them like that and say, OK, you've got concerns. We're going to address them. We're not going to get them all. We don't need to get them all. But we need to reach out to people that broadens our coalition. We can't keep preaching to the choir. Look, I represent a 70% Democratic district. Whether I'm here or not, a Democrat's going to represent this district. And that's great. But what are we going to do to reach the people in those places that we aren't winning? Which is why Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger are so important and what's going to happen in a week and a half. They're running the type of campaigns that's going to broaden the support that Democrats have so that we can begin to turn this around. So I think we have to do both of those things.